This is going to be a tough one. Um, let's go.
Wake up, everybody. I just wanna start a new day. Remember what I say.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It is September 13th, 2021. It's Monday night. It's 8 o'clock. This is Den City Tonight. I am Frank Dez. How you doing? I hope that you had a great weekend, and I hope you had a great last week because I wasn't around last week. And because I have no sponsors and no money flowing in right now, if I have something to do, I just can't do the show. So I had something to do last week, and that's why you didn't see me. But I'm back this week saying hello, saying what's up, carrying you through the next 45 minutes or so. And I'm glad that you came. Glad that you decided to spend a little time with us. Today is the 13th, but this past Saturday marked the 20th anniversary of the attacks on the World Trade Center, September 11th, 2001, Tuesday morning, first attack being at 8:46 a.m. And today, this is not a let's talk about the politics of the day, or let's not talk about conspiracy theories. I really don't want to hear any of that. Today is just a reflection on what I experienced that day. I invite anyone who wants to give any comments or to call in today, 732-955-4931. If you have an experience that you want to share, a memory that you want to share, something you just want to get off your chest, please feel free to call momentarily. I'm going to start off the show playing some audio from that day. I went against showing the video. I think we've seen the images enough, and I think that it's enough to hear the audio from some of the newscasts and some audio that hasn't been heard for some time. And I think that's enough. I have 4 minutes, about 4.5 minutes of stuff I wanted to play, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So I apologize if this is a little rough to hear. This is a little definitely emotional, and I hope I'm not offending anyone who is listening. But it's a part of history that we need never forget. So I'm going to play this, and we'll just listen along.
American 11, are you trying to call?
The cockpit is not answering their phone. Our number 1 has been staffed, and our 5 has been staffed.
Hey, I'm going to call from Washington. I am in a situation with American 11, a possible hijack.
What's going on, Betty? The crap is erratic again. Problem, very erratic. Betty, talk to me. Betty, are you there? Betty? Betty?
A plane just hit the World Trade Center.
What?
737.
What?
The World Trade
Who are you
Center.
talking to?
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Still
United
feels the same.
175, New York. We have some problems over here right now. We might have a hijack over here, 2 of them. Jules, this is Ryan. Listen, on an airplane that's been hijacked. If things don't go well, it's not looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. So happy to find. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you. And I'll see you later. Bye, babe.
Just so sad.
What are those people going to do? All the elevators are blocked out.
Oh my God. So both towers are now.
Okay, I got an aircraft 6 miles east of the White House.
Crystal City, just north of Crystal City.
Just to the north of your town.
Yeah, stop all departures.
Pentagon just got hit. Don't say that. God damn, I can't even protect my NCA.
Doesn't get any easier to ever hear this.
United 93, that traffic for you is 1 o'clock, 12 miles eastbound 370.
Negative contact, we're looking United 93.
United 93, Cleveland, if you hear the center ident.
I got that business, huh? Keep remaining steady. You have the ball, boys.
Tuesday, 9:47 a.m.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. I want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
We're 56865. We have, I believe it is a Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir?
That's confirmed. It looks like he's rocking his wings.
Roger.
He's rocking back and forth.
We're 56865. I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
He's down?
Yes.
When did he land?
He did not land.
Oh, he's down?
Yeah,
Down?
somewhere up northeast of Camp David.
Sean, it's me. I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and I just wanted you to know that I love you always.
At number 2 World Trade Center, right. Ladies and students in the office, we're not ready to die, but it's getting bad.
This Tower 2.
I'm on the 83rd floor. I'm gonna die, aren't I?
No. Say your,
I'm gonna die.
ma'am, say your prayers. You gotta think positive because you gotta help each other get off the floor.
I'm
Now,
gonna die.
That's what it is.
I chose to play the audio rather than see the video because I think the images, have been seen so many times, but just to hear the voices and the fear, the hopelessness, the sadness, I think that's enough. You don't even need the video to really get an understanding. And I play that because after 20 years, for me, it's anytime I hear that, it's just as gut wrenching. It's just as sad as the day it may have been. It was happening. I mean, but I also want to make sure that everyone understands that it shouldn't become desensitized to this. It shouldn't be just like any other thing. We should literally never forget what happened on that day. Time passes on, and sometimes we just become so cavalier about things. And I don't want it to become like when we talk about Veterans Day and we look at the sales, I never want to see a 9/11 sale. I never want to see a 9/11, furniture sale. That hopefully will never occur, like, Veterans Day or things like that, or things that we take for granted. Veterans Day is honoring people who have died for our country, but yet we honor it with like sales and stuff like that. I don't want to see that happen to the memory of the World Trade Center. I remember my memory of that day is very vivid. I'm sure obviously everyone's days is on that day is vivid. You can remember exactly where you were, what you were thinking, what you were doing. I was working at H&M on 34th Street. And I remember coming in to work and relieving the shift. We had an overnight shift because they would get all their merchandise in late at night, and we had a security shift. And so I would come in. I remember we were leaving, the guys and them leaving about 7:30, quarter to 8, and we go outside, and usually by around 8:30, they're other deliveries of clothing come in. And we're outside and we're watching the deliveries come in, and we're making sure that the trucks are not missing any stings. And someone across the street happens to be playing 10-10 wins. They're playing it, and all of a sudden the announcement comes over that a plane has hit one of the towers, Tower 1, the North Tower. And the very first thing that I said, or that myself and one of the other delivery guys said, we looked up in the sky and we said, wow, it's so clear today. It's so clear. There's nothing, there's no not a cloud in the sky. How the heck did that happen? And I remember the other gentleman saying to me, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like somebody did that on purpose. And I was like, well, I guess we'll know soon enough. And within the next, 18 minutes or so, whatever it was, 9:03, the second tower gets hit, and we hear it on 10-10 wins. And now everyone is just stopped what they're doing in the street. There's no more deliveries going on. People are focused on the garage across the street that had 10-10 wins playing. Now they turned it up as loud as possible, and everyone's just listening, and we're hearing things. And now my supervisors, we also had, our company was called Elite Security, and we also had security officers and supervisors down at the World Trade Center. So now we're hearing on the Nextels, we're hearing people talking to each other. We're hearing people trying to find out who's available to come down to help. And I remember I had a supervisor, his name was Joe. He was right there. He was at the towers, and we're radioing into him to find out updates and things of that nature, and he's telling us about just pure chaos and devastation and things that he's never imagined he would witness. And I remember running back into the office and calling my wife, who was a teacher's assistant at a place called Tutor Time at the time. And she was there, and she's like, we're all here, we're hearing it. The parents are calling in, parents are coming to pick up their kids. Some parents are, some of the teachers here are worried because they have family that works downtown. It's just total chaos. And I remember talking to her, and she's asking me, are you guys okay? She's like, you're on 34th Street, you're right by the Empire State Building. And it really hadn't dawned on me until that point that we were right by the Empire State Building. At that time, I went back outside, and I don't know how much time had passed. We just found out that the Pentagon had been hit. And I remember 10-10 wins. The Don Montone, I think, is the guy who's been doing the newscasting there for ages. John Montone, he was like, we're at war. We're being attacked as a country. The United States is under attack. And I just couldn't fathom what exactly that meant. I mean, Pearl Harbor in World War II was an attack on a military base. Not that makes it any better, but it makes sense that would be attacked. But this time, civilians were being attacked, and they were being attacked because World Trade Center was the center, the heart of the financial district for the world, and they knew that economically, if they could take that out, it would just destroy so many more things. However, it still was just incredibly, it was like a movie. It was like we were watching a real live, real time movie, wondering what the hell was going to happen next. You couldn't think straight. You couldn't fathom what could be actually going on down there. One of the things that we started to think was we may be the next target, this area right on 34th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue, because again, like I said, the Empire State Building was right down the block from us. So 34th Street was evacuated immediately. But I remember myself and one other person staying behind for the entire day, because the H&M was concerned that people would take advantage of the desolate area and probably try to loot stores or whatever the case is, as crazy as that sounds, up to that point, that's kind of what happens whenever there's any type of, blackout or power outage. People tend to go crazy. But this time, people weren't thinking about that. People were thinking about getting home. People were thinking about what was the next thing that was going to be, attacked, and if they were going to be able to get home to their families. And I remember sitting and just wondering what people were thinking, what could have possibly be going through the minds of the people that had to get out of that building. I remember hearing people saying that initially, when the first tower was hit, that they told people in the second tower not to leave. That people were starting to leave, and they were like, "No, go back to your offices." And of course, now we know that going forward, that is something that is never advised to do anymore. You get out as quickly as possible of that type of threat. But yeah, I remember hearing that announcement that they were told to go back and wait. And I just, it's just unimaginable. You would never think that something like this could happen. I would always wonder, we would make jokes in security. We'd be like, man, the United States, New York especially, people can come and go as they please in New York. People come and go, and they never have to, they're not frisked. They're not, looked at for any type of weapons. And, and if anybody wanted to, they could have a killing spree here. And, we joke about that, but then it happened. People actually attacked the city of New York, the heart of this country, in my opinion. And they knew it. But the feeling of fear was replaced by sadness. And then the feeling of sadness replaced by anger, because someone did this to us. Someone intentionally knew that they were, going to take out civilians, and they made that choice to do it. 19 hijackers. 2,977 people lost their lives. 343 firefighters. Countless other civilians. Over 6,000 people injured, and people a decade later, passing away from the cancer, from all the carcinogens that they inhaled, either still working in the area, helping to clean up the area. Just devastating for generations to come, because of people that lost fathers and uncles and sisters and brothers and families that were completely altered. It's just something that every time I actually, I was talking to my wife about this earlier. I actually at one point I had to back away from looking. I don't know if anybody else went through this. I don't know if anybody else had this same response, but I wanted to be down there to help. I wanted to go down there. I couldn't. I was working my other job. It just wasn't something that was meant to be or feasible. But I became so obsessed online with trying to find that information, with just, I was looking at blueprints. I was trying to figure out why it could collapse like that. How did it happen? What was going on with it? What the remnants were. Did they find anyone? Is there anyone that still could possibly be alive down there? I became consumed with finding out information about this attack. And I finally had to just back away from it and stop looking and stop feeling. And I was looking at so many interviews and crying. I was looking at the CEO from the company, who lost their entire staff, all 700 and something members of this company's staff. I forget the name of the company, but he was the only one that survived, the CEO. I think he had some type of event with his kid, and he went to do that first, and his entire company was wiped out. I think about the head of security for, I think it was either Morgan Stanley, but their head of security, who emphasized that everyone needs to learn the fire plan and everyone needed to really understand the evacuation plan, and he would be such a pest to people to make sure they knew how to get out of the building, and he actually ended up saving all of them, and he passed. So many stories, we could sit here and talk about so many different stories, but some people say that you can look at it also as the greatest rescue in the history of rescuing. Over 14,000 people were evacuated from that building. Over 14,000 lives actually made it out to tell to tell a story, to see their loved ones again, to actually be a part of their families' lives, to tell the story of actually being in there and what was going on. I mean, people who were actually on the floor below, seeing the plane going into the building above them. I mean, that's the stuff that, you know, catastrophe movies are made of, towering infernos, things that we saw, that we see, that we would never think would be reality. And on that day it was. People should not forget. And not because of the tragedy, but I think even more so because of the way we as individuals came together to support each other. I think the way that the city and the country rallied around all the first responders, rallied around each other, rallied around that sense of unity, that sense of community. It's something that was beautiful to see. Unfortunately, it took that type of tragedy to bring it out in people, but to see the way everyone came together was an amazing, amazing thing. And that spirit lasted quite some time. It lasted a while until the wars started and politics reared its head, and people started talking about conspiracies, and people started talking about who was actually to blame for 9/11, and people started saying how it wasn't real, and there was explosions, and it was actually bombing. It's so many, conspiracies. It's so much nonsense, and unfortunately, that's what starts to happen as the stories, begin to fester into fallacy, and begin to, they become something more than they actually were, or something less. It becomes less truthful. People start embellishing and putting their own opinions into what happened, and they want. It's almost like they want to be the writer of the story. There was a comedian, and I apologize, I did forget the name, but you can look at the research. There was a comedian that actually had to apologize on stage because he lied about his involvement in 9/11. He said he had a story that was involved in the towers. And imagine your psyche, how damaged your psyche is, that you felt the need to create a story so that you can be involved in the greatest tragedy that happened on American soil. Wow, why would someone do that? How empty is your life that you would create a story that would include you in that? And I guess, I don't know, maybe people just wanted to be so much a part of that they imagined themselves there and what they would do and how they would react. And they just so much wanted to be a part of that history that they were willing to make up a story that included them. I find it crazy, but then again, people do that quite often. You get people like in baseball games when, something major happens and somebody be like, yeah, I was there at the Yankee game 6 and I saw this and I saw that, and you weren't there. And it's like, it doesn't make the story of you seeing the game on TV any less fun or exciting or any less, interesting. Why do you feel the need to have to put yourself in there? But that's human nature. We tend to want to include ourselves in things that we have no business including ourselves in, so we can increase our self-worth. And yeah, that comedian had to go on stage. Imagine going on stage and you're like, yeah, that story I told about me in 9/11, that wasn't true. I lied. I wish I could find the name of that, but just if you can, Google that, find out, comedian that lied about 9/11 and had to apologize. I don't know where his career is at right now, but I bet it's probably not good. But like I was saying, we came together as people, and I think that time, we came together against a common threat, and we were able to put aside our differences and become unified for a period of time. And then unfortunately, like a lot of things, they revert back to normal, and it's sad when that happens because, like I said, complacency comes in and you start to become desensitized to the pictures and the stories and the every year people reading the names of everyone who passed on 9/11. And I'm sure people that are home, they're on TV, and a lot of them watch for about a good 10, 15, 20 names. And then it's like, click, click. It's like, all right, let's on to the next thing. And we lose sight of what's important in life, which is people. We forget that in the end, we're all going out of here in the same way. We're all going out of here in the same fashion. I mean, maybe not the mode. Some of us will die natural causes, some of us won't, but we're all going. And most of the time, you're not faced with it in the sense that you're looking at your demise right in front of you, playing out, not being able to control it. Even though we think we have control of our lives, we really don't. It's just a series of events that, can happen at any particular moment. But that's different than actually, sitting somewhere thinking you're going to end up in a destination and then watching your whole world come down to this one moment, this one impact that is going to end your life and change your family's life forever. It is extremely rare that you have that opportunity. And I guess it's good that you don't have that opportunity, because who really wants to spend, if you ever watched a football or basketball game, a minute is a long time when you're waiting for it to pass. And, minutes of seeing what your immediate future is going to be and knowing that it's going to be the end. It's unimaginable how those people felt on those planes, in those buildings. So I want people to make sure that they appreciate their life as it happens right now, that they are able to look at it, what they have, assess it correctly, assess it fairly, to look at the things that you have succeeded in life, the things that you failed in, and appreciate it. Appreciate that you have a chance to reflect or to change it. Appreciate that you have a chance to, create a new pathway for yourself, for your children. And remember, let your kids and people who weren't around for this, let them know, show them, because it's important that it's not forgotten. It's important that it doesn't, fall into the memories of those that were only there. It's like, the Holocaust, and, we talk about never forget. And it's true. Those things, you have to teach the real history, not just, the good parts of it. You have to teach the grit and the grind and the ugly parts, and make sure that people are aware of those, so that, they may be able to handle, God forbid, if a situation like that ever came about again, so that they understand the nature of people and what people are willing and capable of doing to each other in an evil sense, but then at the same time, knowing what people are willing and capable of doing for each other in a good sense. To know that in times of tragedy, more often than not, people come together. More often than not, people are able to put aside their differences and really, address the problem and take it on head on. More often than not. Sometimes, though, people or opinions or, certain types of views manipulate situations and create confusion and cause people to actually do the opposite and to move apart, which what seems to be happening during this pandemic is that people are literally on two sides and are angry at each other, are bitter at each other, are just in total versus mode and have no inkling of ever trying to find a way to come together. And I know that some will say, well, we can't come together on this because this is life or death. If people don't do this, they're gonna die and they're gonna cause us to get sick and die. And it's just so much anger and so much divisiveness. And it's interesting because it didn't start out that way. It started out as people coming together for a common situation. Well, after the toilet paper, because that started out the same way. People were just going crazy over the toilet paper and stuff like that. But everybody wanted, to be safe. And everybody wanted to be secure. And everybody wanted a way to get rid of this. And everybody wanted a cure for it. And somewhere along the line, because of people's influence, those things changed. And now we're at a point where I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to end. Is it going to be like when the war started because of 9/11 and 20 years later, we're just getting out of that? We're just getting out of those wars that were started because of those attacks on 9/11? Are we going to be fighting this pandemic for 20 years because there's just groups of people that don't agree? And there's politicians and organizations that are using this pandemic for their benefit? And once again, as always, the regular person, the person on the street, the average Joe, whether they're for or against masking or for or against vaccinations, we're the ones that get it. We're the ones that suffer. But yet we fight their fights. We fight the fight amongst each other that they created instead of trying to find common ground. And I know that sounds corny, and I know that is not how a lot of people think. Maybe it's naive, but we have to find common ground. We have to. It's got to be. We got to find a way through this. Or in 20 years from now, when I'm 72 and Density Tonight is on its 50th season, I'll be talking about the 20-year anniversary of, COVID-19. And now we're on COVID, 72. Can't do that. We won't make it. We need to find a way to come together. We need to find that same spirit, that same courage, that same unity that we found after September 11th. Don't know if that's going to happen. But 20 years later, we still reflect back on those days in September 11th, and we look at how this world changed. And it changed. The world changed. Policies changed. The ability for government to watch us, and Patriot Act, and just everything changed on that one day. And it's something that we have to find a way to continue forward. we have to find a way to continue forward and whatever it is that we're going to do in this country that I love and want to smack. They're like that little brother or that older brother that, you know, you love him because it's your brother and you would never want to leave him, but they do some really stupid things. And you just don't understand. You just want to shake him and smack him. That's how this country is. It's just, you know, like why do we do that? How do we do that? Why do we do that? But yet, nobody's going anywhere. We're not moving to another country. At least the majority of people aren't. So we're going to have to figure it out because we're all staying. We're all here. So we got to figure something out. I wanted to just say to all the families, to anyone that I know a few people on Facebook, family members that lost someone that they knew, someone in their family. I know that my Aunt Rosie, who was my godmother as well, she passed away early on the 12th of September 2001. She was in the hospital, and I'm sure she was there through all the chaos. And I wonder if, you know, that affected her hard. You know, I wonder if just being in the middle of all the tragedy just caused her to maybe, you know, move on from this world. I don't know. I can't say that is, but she died that night. And just blessings and prayers to all those that lost someone. I know after all these 20 years, it's still hard because for me, it's still hard to hear it. And I didn't have anyone personally affected in those attacks. So I just can't imagine that it's gotten any easier even 20 years after for the people who actually had family members and friends lose their life that day. So prayers go out to them. I hope that you are able to one day come to peace. It may never be, and that's okay. But we're still all in that together. We're still all in this together. And just know that that day is shared among millions of people whose prayers and heart go out to you. So that's a wrap for me this week. I just wanted to, you know, pay tribute to that day. I want to say thank you to everybody who came through. Please go to the YouTube page, Den City Tonight, and subscribe and like. We're going on to episode 14 next week, and I hope to see you guys there again. Please, everyone, you know, find a way to find common ground. Celebrate your failures because they prepare you for your success. And see you next week, guys. Take care.
Wake up, everybody.